Things to make Jacob's ladders for Halloween. Maybe you know them as click-clacks. I know 3 different ways to put them together. This is one of them. And there's another version that uses 3 very long ribbons that is usually done with paper or cardstock or something else fairly flat. I was trying to decide which type of object and which ribbons to use. I think I'm going to use these because they're tapered. I'm about to show you the second method. The first one I called the wrap and tack. The second method I call the sandwich method because each block is made of 2 half blocks that you put together. So I'm going to use hot glue with these, which is at risk of melting the chocolate, I know, but ah well. Shall I make them all the same, or shall I think I'll alternate them. 6 is not a magic number. Of course, these can be made larger or smaller. Now, eventually I will study this and I will figure out how to set these up right side up and upside down so that I get a nice pattern with the cascading blocks, but I'm not that sophisticated yet. These will be the ones I put together in pairs. Let's see, it needs to go between them, and then it needs to weave in and out, which I think is probably about, oh, let's say that long. I'll make it extra long because I'd rather be wasteful in my initial attempt. And this time I'm going to use the same ribbon in the center and on the 2 edges. I'm gluing the ribbon to the flat part of the chocolate, which is going to be the middle of the sandwich. I may be putting these 2 a little too close to the edge, I don't know. There's my first one. So you set the ends on to the first one and you sandwich them. And then you do the back and forth thing. So the single one goes to one side and the double one's to the other side. And then you put down the good side of your next one. And then you wrap them back. Only this time, when you wrap them back, these are not going to be the ribbons that show. These are going to be the ones that are sandwiched. So these need to be glued down. So think of making a stack of little sandwiches. You put one down, you spread the filling, you top it. Then you put the next one down, spread the filling, and top it. The only difference is in between the sandwiches you need a layer of, I don't know, what's this, deli paper or something? To separate the sandwiches. Okay, so I'm not gluing that down because that's the outside of that one. And the outside of that one goes against it. And now I am making a sandwich. So with this version, every time, let's say every time the single one crosses that way, that's a filling. Okay, so every time the single one crosses to this side, it's a filling. Every time the single one crosses to this side, it's a deli paper. Is my sandwich analogy too much? I don't know. This ribbon is a little twisted, but oh well. It's quite possible that the ribbon I'm using is so thin that these will twist, but if so, then you will see a demonstration of why not to use thin ribbon. Should make a jig to hold these. Okay, I had to finish the last 2 because I couldn't let go. I didn't have enough hands, but here's how it's looking. It wants to fall apart. Here's how the edges look. Now I'm going to trim them, and I can trim them Well, okay, I probably should have tested before trimming, but alright. Ribbons out of the way. And here's how they look. So if I flip this, flip that over, and then they change color. Alright, let's see if that works. Does it hang straight? It hangs about like that. A little bit crooked, but not too bad. Now, this one has two, so that's not where I want to hold it. I want to hold it where it doesn't have the bends running across. It's too tight. Oh, no, it's not too tight. It's that the candy bars are pulling apart a little bit. Okay, I'm going to sneak in a little extra hot glue. Okay, so if you try this with these particular sorts of candies, it's good to get a little glue in between the foil because the paper packages tend to pull out. And if you do after the fact repairs as I did, be careful not to glue the candy bars together to the ones that they're not supposed to be glued to. Alright, so I'll pick up this end this time. Let's see if I can do it this way so you can see it. They are cascading. They're not quite vertical, they're kind of twisted. But part of that is that I didn't line them up all that well. And let me get a vertical view for you. These are twisted because the ribbon is not lined up. This is too far over. So the sandwich method works pretty well for nice heavy candy bars that are tapered on the ends and that fit together well like sandwiches. Here's what not to do. Don't use super thin ribbon. Use wider ribbon if you can. But make sure it fits. Make sure it's not so wide that it's going to slip off the ends. That's what I was afraid of, which is why I used the thinner ribbon. Unlike what I do make marks and get everything centered, and maybe try to get the ribbon more towards the center, the edges. If you do use narrow ribbon, maybe get it a little more towards the center, like about like that one. Not really close, but at the sort of quarter mark, and then the middle one goes at the half mark. That way they won't tend to twist. Like some of these, like that one, really wants to twist as it hangs, and that kind of fouls up the motion. So I will use the same procedure, the sandwich version, and see if I can do it with these, and see if I can do it with these, and I'll show you the results. So I'm disappointed that neither these nor these came in a package big enough to make a full 6 pieces. But on the other hand, when I went to unwind my ribbon, I found these transparent wrappings for the ribbons, and I'm thinking maybe I could use that as the ribbon, and so that you could see the candy underneath. That might be interesting. I was also thinking with these, I might try going the other way and letting these things be part of the ribbon flappy things. I'm not sure. I haven't thought that through all the way. So I'm going to try to use these. I haven't eaten any, so this is the number I get, and we'll see where that goes. Okay, I'm learning something about this sandwich method. The first is that you don't have to flip these over and flip them back. All you need to do is kind of make a loop and place the next one, and kind of loop this and loop it back, so you can actually place the one, and as long as you do the center ribbon first, it's not too difficult. I'm also trying double stick tape with these. And I am am trying to remember to line them up properly, but I'm not actually succeeding all that well. So these are probably going to go wonky just like the other ones. Yeah, that one's a little too wonky. And it's difficult because the hardness inside the actual candy can be anywhere within the wrapper. It's not in a reliable place. So that makes this difficult. But on the upside, because these extend because these wrappers extend beyond where the ribbons are going to go, when I sandwich them together, I can tape them together, kind of including the ends there, and I don't have to use the hot glue and risk melting the chocolate. So that part's nice. Just when I do the one with two, I have to be careful not to tape the ribbon. And that got a little bit too over my scissors. There we go. Here's my ribbon. You can probably barely see it. There. Okay. So I'm going to keep going on this. Now I want to spread these out, and they don't spread out. I did not leave enough space in between. They were just a little too hard to stack. I couldn't get them right. I can cut these apart, cut off all the tape, try again. Not sure it's worth it because 5 of these is just not going to be a very satisfying ladder, especially because they don't have much in this dimension. If they were longer, you know, the square ones might work better. Because they're bigger, they take longer to flop over. These just move too quickly. So I am going to do these using the third method. I managed to get the tape off of these candies, and I'm afraid I mangled the chocolates inside. So while they look okay on the outside, I'm not going to want to give them away to guests. These are now for home consumption only. These clear ribbons, I think that these may be a little bit too stiff. I'm not sure. They do flex pretty well in that way, and they kind of resist twisting, so maybe they are good. Maybe I should use them again, but for now I'm not going to. I do want to try the sandwich technique one more time. I'm going to try it with these sticker boxes. Stack them up so the ribbons go this way, so that the boxes can open on the side, so that I'll still be able to put something in, because these aren't very heavy and I don't think they're going to click-clack very well. Right, I'll use double stick tape for the first one. That's not going to work because I have that ribbon there is that thick. It's going to go over the edge, or it's going to be so close that these ribbons rub into each other. So let's see, will this ribbon do? I think this ribbon will do. Of course, now the problem is I need to know how long it is, how long to make it. So I will do a sample stack. So that's the deli wrap. There's the filling. There's the next one. The other side of that sandwich. Deli wrap. Filling. Deli wrap. Filling. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3. You know what? I'm going to stop at 3 and I'm going to double whatever this length is. Plus a little. Alright, so that's how long I need it, which is roughly twice as long as what I needed for the other ones. Okay, so I'm going to use the sandwich. Cut it a little long just in case. I'll use the sandwich for these. Okay, so I only overjudged the ribbon by a little bit. This one I've already cut off. These were much, much easier to stack than the other ones, than the candies, because they're so lightweight. Unfortunately, a lot of the boxes were kind of crushed. As I was going to flip the ribbon over this way, I kind of scooted the top box to this side a little bit to take up a little extra room in the ribbon, and then I glued it on, and then I scooted it to that side before I wrapped the ribbon the other way to scoot it on that way. Anyway, let's see if I got it right. Will they, in fact... Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That works. Same on that side, but will they stretch out? Answer, yes, they will stretch out. Will they hang vertically? Answer, they're kind of like this. They're a little bit crooked, but not too bad. Now I'm looking at these and noticing that they want to hang like this. Of course, that's the first one. That's not too bad. This one can bend that way. Well, it's supposed to bend the other way. Ah, that's the problem. Bend that way or that way. I don't know. Let's see. Will they click? So I hold the one that doesn't have the ribbon crossing it. First one doesn't want to, but that's because these boxes are separating. So let's add a little hot glue there. And really mash them together. Ha ha ha. Maybe a little on this side too. Let me see if any of these others... Now, they kind of come in apart where the end opens, but the boxes aren't coming apart. Let's try that again. Alright, I'll get you a vertical view. Okay, I had to glue the one that I had originally taped, and what I've done is added a chocolate, one to each pair of boxes. And when I do that, I think the action is much smoother and gives a little more satisfying clunk. Of course, that means I don't have enough chocolates to make another one, so... Okay, I've added chocolates, one to each of these boxes for weight. Let's see what happens.